What's up, YouTube? Bay Area Baller back again. Today we're going to be doing another cone phone, but before I take your calls, I got to tell you about this weekend that I just had. All right. It was my boy's bachelor party. Shout out to KB, and it was tight. It was so sick. Now, Saturday, we were at the celebrity golf tournament, but not in the conventional way. See, we rented a boat. All right. We rented this boat. Let me pull the pick up here, but we pulled it up to the 18th green, which is Lakeside. So let me pull this pick up here because we had such a fun time. All right, there's me and my boys. Okay, you see us on the boat, the double decker, the pontoon. Let's see, I got one more pick to show you guys. But it was so sick. Let's see, what are you guys saying in the chat? Ready for whatever. Thanks for coming by. No doubt. See, everyone wants to go. Waruna wants to go first. E Kim, I see you. Montana. I'm pulling up one more pick. I got to show you the star of the show. All right. All right. This is me and my boy Freitas, Jay Freight. Shout out to you. You see the golf course in the background. All right. Now, Freight, he wasn't the bachelor, but he had a hell of a day. I got to roll the tape because he made a crucial catch. All right. So there's a lot of big names out at this golf tournament. All right. There's a lot of big names. And Mahomes was out there. He didn't want to throw the rock. Okay. We had the football. All right. I threw two balls onto the green, practically the fairway. All right. Only because the spectators, they wanted to play catch with us. They kept on. So I was launching them down. It was probably like a 40-yard toss, but I can't front. It was a smaller football, but I was throwing lasers. All right. But these spectators, they weren't catching it. It was going through their hands and bouncing onto the fairway. All right. So I threw two on the green. I was like, okay, I got to chill out. All right. So anyway, my boy Freitas was the next man up throwing darts. All right. Well, guess who came by other than Derek Carr? When Derek Carr's up, he wants the football, right? He says, give me the football. My boy Freitas throws him a laser. Carr drops it. But it's all right. It's all right. So he's getting ready. He's getting warmed up. And let me roll the tape. Here's Derek Carr. It's kind of small. That's the only angle we got. That's the only angle we got. I'm scrounging the interwebs for another angle, but right now. It's kind of hard to see, but Carr's throwing a dart to the top of the pontoon boat, and my boy Jay Freight made the catch. So shout out to you. Now let me drop the link in the chat. Oh no! Before I gotta say, we were shouting MVP for Steph Curry, and that was all over the broadcast. So it was like it was tight. I recommend anyone you're looking for a weekend with the boys, you go to Tahoe, Celebrity Golf Weekend. Anyway, time to drop the link in the chat. I know why you guys are here. All right, the link's in the chat. Let me throw it in the description. So tight. All right, it's in the description. All right, looks like we got our first caller. E. Kim, what's going on? How you doing?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm so good. You know what? My voice finally came back because Monday, Tuesday, my voice was gone. I spent it all out on Lake Tahoe shouting MVP for Steph Curry.
That makes sense. Looked like when you were on Cone Phone on Monday, looked like you needed another day off from your days off.
You weren't kidding. You weren't kidding. But hey, I powered through, and I'm excited to get back to YouTube and talk to the people.
Yeah. So good thing you had all that fun and got 3 points I want to talk to you about today.
Please, please, Ekim, because I'm running out of ideas. I can't even lie. Although training camp is right around the corner, so we're gonna have a ton of talking points here coming up. But what do you got for me?
Uh, First topic is hopefully Richard Sherman is getting the help he needs because that's a terrible story, and I was always told that how well do we really know these guys? Because pro sports is a microcosm of society. Never know who's been through what or any of their circumstances. Hopefully, someone's reached out to him or Richard will reach out to somebody and they'll provide the support he needs because he could have hit rock bottom, and I'm amazed he didn't die after drinking all that alcohol supposedly. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's something that it was a tough day yesterday. Listening to that call, which I don't know why that stuff even gets out. I mean, I find that disappointing. Like, can't anything be private anymore? I guess not. But I think Richard Sherman, and I really hope that, and I think he will. I think he's going to turn this around and somehow. I mean, it's hard to turn this into a positive, but I think he's going to make this go in the right direction because I know how smart he is, and that's what I hope for. At least I think he's going to pull through and he's going to turn this thing around.
yep, I know he's a smart guy, but who knows what he was going through in his personal life? That's none of our business. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
One last point on the Richard Sherman thing. I do feel bad for the people, for his in-laws, he did beat down the door of their house because they're older people, which will assume that to be the case. They don't deserve that. I mean,
No,
Richard.
no, no. I mean, if when you're that inebriated, I mean, you'll just about do anything if with the situation is
Yes.
necessary. But yeah.
Okay.
So thoughts and prayers for Richard Sherman. We hope you're good, big dog.
Yep. So topic number 2. This is my observation, and this, if I'm wrong on it, oh well. I think Kyle at times is. I think he has loose lips because you've heard how he talks about Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy doesn't deserve that. I mean, in the end, eventually I do feel Jimmy won't be on the team, but he doesn't deserve to be thrown in front of the out of control speeding bus because Kyle doesn't like him or doesn't do anything. In the end, he's another fellow human being, and I mean, what's the point of Kyle looking around at other quarterbacks? Just like if I was married, or I believe you're married, and you're looking around at other women, that's not respectful to Jimmy. I mean, I don't think any of us would want that kind of behavior to happen to us. And
No,
Kyle
yeah.
talking about other quarterbacks is like, don't you have any respect for Jimmy at least? He's still on the team until he gets cut or.
My dad used to say the same saying, E. Kim, and that's loose lips sink ships. Shanahan's a questionable leader at times. So Montana's agreeing with you. And I hadn't really thought of it that in depth because I'm also critical of Jimmy. So it's almost like I've kind of overlooked Shanahan's kind of, I mean, it's not criticism. Oh, I guess it is criticism because I kind of like it because I feel the same way at times. But to your point, should he be doing that to his guys? That's where you do that to too many players and you start losing the locker room. Not to say Kyle's losing the locker room because he's only
Yeah.
done it to Jimmy, right? He hasn't done this with any other player, right? That you can think of.
I can't think of any, but if that's the feeling within certain members of the coaching staff, they should at least keep that in a very small circle because you don't want, the family business to be leaking out into the public unnecessarily if it doesn't have to.
No,
So,
no, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. E
so
Kim,
that's
I got a question for you, E Kim.
go ahead, man.
So when I'm looking at the running backs here, I got the depth chart pulled up, right? And
Okay.
Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon. Are you thinking like Raheem's the one going into the year, or Trey Sermon could take over, or what do you think about the 1-2?
I think starting out it's going to be Raheem for maybe a few weeks, and then when Trey Sermon gets himself going, I think he may eventually take over. But I do see Elijah Mitchell having a big role because that speed and size is always a beautiful thing, and I see Wayne Gallman even having a role, and maybe
Yes.
because if Kyle wants to go back to a more power-based run offense, the running backs are going to get dinged, and they're going to need the rest of the depth to overcome any losses of players for any period of time.
Hey, E Kim, I think Raheem Mostert is about to ball out. I think, yes, he was getting dinged up last year, but this guy is so electric when he's on the field. He has that game-breaking speed. He can squeeze through a hole, and nobody's catching him when he gets into the open field. So really, I think he's going to put it together. I hope he stays healthy. We're not going to give him 15, 20 touches a game. You scale it back. You keep it to around 10 touches a game or so, maybe 12. And then you mix in Trey Sermon. And Trey Sermon's got that power and that acceleration. And I think it's going to be a heck of a 1-2 punch. And I like how you mentioned Gallman.
Yep. I want to see what Gallman can bring along with Elijah Mitchell too. So, but one last point, and this is more of an interesting fact. A few years ago, I met a girl in Chicago. We were kind of dating for a little bit, and she told me an interesting fact about someone famous in her family. I'm like, well, who's that? She said, she's like the cousin of David and Derek Carr, ironically enough. It didn't work out, but she told me that like the first time I met up with her. I said, okay.
Heck yeah.
I mean, it's always,
hey, Kim, yeah.
It's always interesting to hear, family connections if they ever have any, or relations, yeah.
Absolutely. You got any last thoughts, E Kim? Anything you want to share with the 49er fan base?
I'm just ready for training camp. I'm tired of, as Botan would say, cucumber season, where we're just talking about general stuff and nothing about what's going on the practice field. So
I feel like preseason is going to be so big this year. It's like normally you kind of tune out preseason, but this year there's going to be some emphasis. How's Trey Lance balling? I mean, if Trey Lance is balling out, right? That's going to make it tough for Kyle Shanahan, right? And then that $25 million option to potentially get out of that contract is a viable possibility.
Did you catch what Michael Miller said on the Cone phone this weekend about if
Jimmy
gets hurt?
No, I missed it. I missed this week.
So he said if Jimmy somehow got hurt, let's say week 5, and he ruptures his Achilles somehow or something pretty serious, this year and next year are both guaranteed. We're not getting out of it because remember, he can't pass a physical.
That's like some Colin Kaepernick stuff. I remember that clause being with Kaepernick. So that's very interesting, and that we definitely do not want that to happen. E. Kim, I got a line building up, so I got to let you go, but I appreciate you for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
I'll catch you next time, all right?
Yep. Next time.
Ryan.
What up, man?
Ryan?
Bro, you had a lit weekend.
It was so sick. I mean, I recommend it. We had such a blast. Shout out to KB, The Bachelor, and man, so the celebrity tournament was a lot of fun.
I remember you saying something in Grant's chat, and I immediately got out my other phone, the one that's not hooked up, and I started looking at the throw before. I was like, oh, snap.
I know. Carr threw a laser right on the money, but actually, my boy Jay Freight might have made just as good of a throw to him to get him the ball.
I've never been a Derek Carr fan, but he he went up in my book after that. I've
No,
never
he
been.
did. He did. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all in a
but
fantasy football league together, and now I know for a fact Carr just shot up like a round or two.
That's awesome. Oh, quick story. So, you know how you're talking about we don't know these ball players and whatnot like that. So, back in the day when OJ Simpson trial was going on, my grandma told me that OJ couldn't have done it because he was such a good ball player. And I was like, huh? Like how could you work yourself into that? But that was a different time where, you know, if you got to that level, you were good no matter what. You know what I mean? And they held the stories behind closed
And
doors. They were
he was
bad.
on TV, like he had his own show, like he was a big time celebrity, not just an athlete,
Yeah.
but you know, on TV and in acting roles and whatnot.
Yeah. So then listen to this. So I go back down to the Bay Area to help my mom take care of my grandma right before she passed. And I was talking to her about it. I said, Mom, can you believe that she couldn't think that OJ Simpson did it? And she's like, oh, he was always so full of himself. And I said, what do you mean? She says, he tried to make time with me. And I'm like, Mom, what is making time? And she's like, he was hitting on me. We were at a party and she goes, this was back in the day, was when I was pretty. I know you can't believe it. She used to be a tall lady that wore mini skirts. So he was, you know, hey, do you see my car out front? Isn't that a nice car? And my mom's always loved nerds. So she didn't give a dang about his car. You know what I mean? She wanted nerds. And I guess he couldn't get over the fact that she didn't want anything to do with him. And I was like, oh my gosh, you avoided that whole thing. You know, not to say that he would have married her, but there could have been a chance. Who knows?
Oh man. Wow. Yeah, that's a fortunate event.
Yeah. So I hear, you know, a little bit of rumbling about maybe going to a more traditional running style. I want to kind of hear your thoughts and think, are we really going to do that? Or is it just going to be another wrinkle because our offense is so much anchored around that sideline to sideline movement every play?
I mean, that's the Shanahan system, right? The stretch run. You want to stretch it out. You want to stretch it out wide, but it's like the pick of Aaron Banks kind of makes you think, are we going to be running more power? Because he's not, he can move his feet pretty well, but he's not a guy with great quickness, right? You'd think of the Shanahan lineman typically before Banks, it was a smaller, quicker guy, which works well in the stretch game. Now with a big, powerful guy, I'm wondering, are we preparing for some QB power with Trey Lance, right? Where, I mean, the defense has to account for all 11 guys in that scenario.
See, I like the fact of having it in as a wrinkle and doing it, because when you're going sideline to sideline like that, and then all of a sudden one play, you're doing like a trap play, people have to stop and figure out, okay, what is going on? Because we're supposed to be going sideline to sideline right now. Is this a run or is this a pass? You have to think more, you know what I mean? Instead of just be like, oh, this is their sweep to this side, or their outside zone. So I've got to, you know, do my certain kind of checks, you know what I mean? They're little checks to balance out, you know, what the offense does. You know, I need to trail behind this to make sure this or that. So when you throw a traditional run in at them right up the gut, they're paused for a second going, what is this? You know, and then of course you can play action right off of that, you know, which I love.
Absolutely. And that's a huge staple of the Shanahan system, the play action. And that's where with Lance, he's going to open up a new dimension, right? With his arm strength. You know, it's not going to be play action. We're looking for a quick slant, because Shanahan loves his slants, but I want to see some deep overs, some posts to beat a cover two deep down the middle, you know, and that's, yeah.
I think you'll get that with the boots that you'll be able to run with Lance. You know what I mean? And
absolutely. And he throws on the run very well. Lance throws on the run phenomenally. That's
why, you know, you've seen that the Rams play where they love to do that bootleg, but they were doing that little wrinkle where they weren't getting the two routes that were in front. They were kind of looking back a little bit behind all the coverage because there was a third guy coming in there, and they'd get that route open because our defense would stop the two that were, you know, when you bootleg out to the one side. then you've got your 2 or 3 receivers or whatever stacked right in front of you in whatever depths you want. But if you look back a little
Yeah.
bit to the off play, there's usually somebody open there, and I think he can make those types of throws.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I know I'm of the mindset I want to see it sooner rather than later. But who
I don't
knows?
want-
That's why.
I don't-
That's why. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to be on the, like Kim was talking about. We could be on the losing end of a $50 million bag if he doesn't clear his physical.
That hadn't even crossed my mind. So it's like hearing that. I mean, that's risky. You're playing with fire right there, Ryan.
And you're taking a risk at not being able to solidify any other depth at any of your other positions where you're needing. You know, everybody's talking about N'Keal Harry and all this other stuff, and it's like, you know what, I can run with the wide receivers we have right now, as long as we get rid of Jimmy and reinforce our cornerback position and our defensive end, because with Lance starting under center, you're not going to need as many high caliber wide receivers because you're not going to be throwing as much. You know what I mean? You're not. You're not going to try. You're going to slowly work him into that. He's going to be needing to run, and we got wide receivers that know how to block, so we're good right now.
I mean, yeah, you're not he's not going to throw the ball 30 times, 30, 40 times.
No. And if he does,
Hey, Ryan,
that's a really bad situation. Yeah.
I agree with you right there. Do you have any last thoughts or anything you want to share with the Niner fan base?
Not good. Love y'all. Love you, Sherman.
Hey, Ryan, you're killing it on Twitter, by the way. Shout out your Twitter handle, because I don't think we got to get those followers up, big dog.
Crypto Ryan. I'm out there. Hit me up.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Nope. Shout out to everybody. Ryan. Love everybody. Have fun.
Absolutely. You have a good night, all right?
You too, sir.
All right. Next up, we're keeping this thing rolling. 49ers Ultimate Report. John, thanks for calling in. You know, I've called into your show previously. You're muted though, John.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, John, man, I thought you were hard on my boy Chardal. He got a more nostalgic feeling when they were in Oakland. I don't know. And then you kind of went at him, man.
Well, that situation, for those who don't know me, that's just how I talk. People have to understand that I'm not a sugarcoat type of person. That's just who I am. And I'm not saying Chardal is a bad dude. I see everyone, even my boy Tommy Huxley, my boy Waruna, have a lot of respect for that guy. But that situation was that, he said a comment, and I don't think he meant to say it, but he said that people in Oakland hate Steph Curry for moving to San Francisco. I have friends and family who will get really upset about that. And I know he didn't mean it that way, but the way he said it was saying that, because the Warriors are in San Francisco, that situation. So I wanted to clear that up. I have nothing negative against, that dude. And yes, I do talk real talk. I am who I am. I grew up, I have, demons and, things like that. That's just who I am. So if I made anyone feel uncomfortable, disrespectful, I'm old enough to say I apologize to Chardal wherever he is. Hopefully Chardal understands I wasn't attacking him. I was just, trying to say something, and my emotions got to me. So I apologize, for that situation. And of course, people should be also hard on me, I can take it, I'm not, little anymore. So it's good that people look out for him. So I just wanted to clear that up. So, yeah.
You know what? I appreciate that, because that means a lot, because I was kind of like, man, dude, I like John Jay. I called into his show, but I was like, man. But anyway, that's big, and I appreciate you coming in here and clearing that up. So shoot, man. John, what's on your mind, big dog? What are you thinking?
Well, I wanted to, I was watching Grant and some guy I've never seen before, talking about Richard Sherman, and I sent a super chat, and the super chat, read that I know military, I know people who are pro athletes, college athletes, and just people like you and I who deal with, that type of situation that happened to Richard Sherman. I don't know the facts. I don't know nothing. What he did, he did. There's nothing to dispute that. But we live in a world where, men have to act a certain way to, show their dominance. It's just how society is. And when a man shows weakness in any type of situation, they are disrespected. They're called obscene names. That's how society is for some reason. So hopefully, if Richard Sherman is going through a hard time, if he, needs the help, they should give him the help, because I worry that if he's going through a hard time, he was driving, he got into a crash, he got into a fight with his wife's uncle, he wanted to kill himself. So that any normal person, like, if I've never been in a car crash, but if I got in a car crash, I'm gonna be so shaken up. And then I don't know what, after that situation led him to his wife's uncle's house and whatever the situation. So I wanted to just clear that up. And at the end of the day, we don't know the facts. So I'm a person, let the truth come out. And if he's innocent, maybe, he just needs some help. And like, I'm not married, but I know people who've been in divorces, and I've seen men just like, lose it. I've seen women, lose it, situations like that. So that's one thing that, hopefully that's the situation.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? You said a lot there. And I think Sherm, I think he's going to be able to turn this around. And when you spoke to, society, it's like, why don't they just, I feel like we're becoming more open-minded to mental health. I feel like we are getting better as a society, but we still have a long ways to go. I feel like maybe in the 80s or 90s, mental health wasn't quite taken as serious, but now we're becoming more aware. You got to take care of your body, but you got to take care of your mind.
Yeah. And then I wanted, of course, we're all 49er fans, we all have respect for one another. And there are a lot of points about Jimmy and Trey Lance. I'm a Trey Lance guy, watching this film when he was in college in 2019, there's a reason why he was really that good. I have a video that I'm going to, hopefully YouTube doesn't take it down, but show, the stuff that Trey Lance is going to do with that offense. And Jimmy's one-dimensional. I understand that the concern, a lot of fans, we're tired of having a quarterback who continues to get hurt. And when he's on the bench, our backup quarterbacks, Mullins and Beathard, and I know they sucked, is what it is. And just like you said, you made the perfect point. If Trey Lance beats Jimmy out, I don't care, and put Trey Lance in. And I think the best situation is to restructure that contract if Jimmy loses, because I don't think they're going to trade a quarterback in week one, because that would be kind of dumb. So if Jimmy loses the job, you restructure that contract, so it'll save more money. You could pay Warner or whatnot. If Jimmy, is average and, Kyle likes that and Kyle puts him in, he better make sure he keeps that kid on the bench. Because at the end of the day, when I watch Jimmy Garoppolo, I worry about when he throws the ball. That's just who I am. I diagnose, everything he does. And I'm not trying to be a Jimmy Garoppolo hater, but the reality is that, if Jimmy does good for us, hypothetically, I know there are people that don't want to hear that. It's good for us because then we can get some trade compensation back. But at the end of the day, man, that's why I like you, man, because you're very passionate. You know about Trey Lance, all that stuff. And if you're right, just like anyone says, get on those Jimmy people because they deserve it.
Hey, I appreciate you saying that, because I know you're a Jimmy supporter, and I support Jimmy too. Before, really, John, it's the 25 million that we could potentially open up that really gets me excited. And I'm thinking, we could use this money, like you said, to extend Fred, to bring in some other guys. It rolls over to next year, whatever we don't spend. But you know what? We're going to have a good old-fashioned camp battle. And if Jimmy wins it and Trey's not ready, fine. I'm all good. I still want to win. Let's win with Jimmy, right? And if for some reason we start losing, like let's say Jimmy wins the job and, John, we start out, I don't see this happening, but we start out like 2-4 or something, right? At that point, you know what? That's when you roll with Trey. But if Jimmy's winning games, you don't make the switch, because if you're winning games, you get to keep the job. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, man. I know you have a lot of people coming on. And before I go one last time, man, I hope what happened on Jack Hammer, I waited. I apologize, for that situation. And Chardell, man, if you're on waiting your turn, my name is John Jay. I welcome you on my show. You can talk. We can have great conversations. You're also welcome, Bay Area Baller, and all the other people in the chat. We can have conversation as well. Bay Area Baller, we got to get on to 500 and then slowly to 1,000, man. So thanks very much, man. I'll see you.
Hey, John, that means a lot. Thanks a lot. Have a good night, all right?
All right, man.
Oh, that's right on cue. That's perfectly on brand.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
That's right, baby. Big Ray. I love this guy. I'm a big Ray Martinez fan. Ray, what's poppin'?
What's up, baller?
Hey, I don't know if you caught the beginning of this YouTube video when it was getting fired up, but I was showing some pics of Tahoe. Dog, Tahoe is sick.
Yeah, I had a coworker. She went to that a couple years back, and she went up there and she got Steph Curry's autograph and a bunch of other players. I think it was Charles Barkley, all the guys up there. And she said it's just everybody's having a good time up there. So when I seen you up there, I was like, oh, okay. I see Bay Area. He's over there chilling with his boys on a boat, having a time.
That's right. Well, let me tell you. So hole 17 is also lakeside, but that's known as the party hole. That's where they got the basketball hoop. Steph Curry will take his shot. And when we got there at 9 a.m., 9:30, that spot was already filled up. Like we couldn't get beach side. We would have been like 2 or 3 rows back of boats, right? But hole 18, my boy's like, hey, what's going on at 18, right? And that one is also lakeside. So we went to 18 and we pulled it up right there by the green and docked it. And it was the spot. Because if we were at 17, we would have been one of many party boats. But at 18, we were the party boat. I got to run this video one more time. This is Derek Carr throwing the bomb to my boat. There it is. What you got? What you got, Ray? You know what? Every time you call in, I get fired up, man. I like what you got to say.
All right, so I remember the other day we had a discussion about special teams. So let's talk about special teams. All right, so
let's do it.
When we had that discussion, I had to look back at it, and I'm like, all right, if I'm looking at this year's draft and I'm looking at the players we acquired, underratedly, I think they really are trying to address the special teams unit. When you look at the picks of Hufanga, when you look at the picks of Lenore, when you look at the free agency moves of Sherfield, when you look at some of the guys they've picked up, I think they are trying to reinforce their special teams unit. I think it's definitely been our weak link on our team. I think that's been evident pretty much every single season. So if we see like what they can do with basically some of these young guys, I feel like that's what they're looking forward to. If like you were saying, if Mitchell can get an opportunity, if Ambry can get an opportunity, because one of the things I got to concede is, I do want the talented guys to play, but at the same time, man, we're talking about the 49ers right now, and we do have a problem with the injuries. And unlike other teams where you can maybe say, all right, I don't really care about that, this ain't a team to really not care about that. So with that in mind, it is important to try to get some of these young guys who aren't going to necessarily be playing a lot of snaps, but can actually get some quality reps on special teams.
Ray, I love that point. the two names you mentioned, like immediately, Hufanga and Lenore, those guys are both known as being really sound tacklers. Lenore, from what PFF was said, because when we drafted him, I subscribe to PFF, but I know a lot of people either like PFF or they hate PFF. But I had to see what they said about the players, and they said Lenore, very sound tackler. This guy's so that makes me think, man, this guy might be a future slot guy, right? Because only because we blitz K1 a lot. We ask K1 to do so much, like in the run game, in terms of run fits, run blitzing. We blitz K1 a ton. So I feel like, but then now you're pointing out special teams too, because it's like that ability to tackle in the open field. I mean, that equates to a special teamer off the bat, right off the rip.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I think. Yeah. No, go ahead.
So, but I was thinking in the return game, right? Because that's what started this whole conversation. It was the return game, right? You were thinking, man, I want to see Debo on returns, and I'm like, look, Debo would be sick on returns, but I don't think we can do it. I had looked at who the leading returners are, and like you said, there's not a lot of big names up there. Andre Roberts is known as a really good returner. Cordell Patterson. I mean, that's probably the most prominent name was Cordell Patterson.
That's about it. Yeah, so, that was about it. Because when you look at the list, it was like, man, and maybe that's the trend, is that teams just aren't willing to put their stars at that position anymore, because I know they've changed the rules from where the kickoff is and stuff like that, but it just seems like when you look at that list, it was pretty evident. Like, nobody's really playing any type of like really talented A1 talent out there right now at that spot.
Yeah. And so I don't know if Eli Mitchell, I don't know if Eli Mitchell did kick returns in college, but just his speed and like his body build, like it looks like he could run through an arm tackle and then he's off to the races. So that's why I feel like Eli Mitchell could be a good fit as a kick returner, but I don't know if he's done it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what they plan on doing. We do know that Ambry Thomas is a punt returner, though.
And right? He did some kicks too. He did some kicks at Michigan. So and some
I could see them using his athleticism right away, because we know he's 6'1". We know he runs a 4.3. Yeah. We know he's got really good agility. If you do watch those punt returns, how he can use that speed and move up the field real fast. And we also seen, if you've seen some of his college film, they actually used him on some gadget plays. So we definitely need to exploit the athleticism that we have on the bench. That way they can make an impact right away. And special teams is usually a very good way to get some guys broken in a little bit before you start throwing them on the field, before you start putting them in high pressure situations, kind of ease them in there a little bit. But yeah, it would be great if somebody can establish themselves as that premier special teams player outside of Mostert, because Mostert used to be that guy. Mostert used to be the guy on the gunner who would come down blazing, crash whoever was returning, and I don't think they can afford to use Raheem.
That's where he made his hay. He was a stud special teamer. That's where Raheem bursted onto this team. They're like, this guy's a phenomenal special teamer. Then he started sticking around, and when he got his op, I mean, Raheem is so sick. I love Raheem. And young Montana's saying Ayuk for return man. And for punt return, I don't mind putting a talented player as a punt returner. You like, especially in key situations, right? Remember that Deshaun Jackson touchdown, the game breaker, right? I mean, that was so at strategic moments, you can put your electric playmaker at punt return. Antonio Brown was a punt returner for a while.
Yeah, and that's why I think I was envisioning Debo really being electric on special teams, because when I just look at his game, it just seems like it would translate so well, because it doesn't seem like he ever really gets hurt from contact. It doesn't seem like he ever has a problem with that. His stuff is like, the soft tissue things and those awkward injuries with his feet. So for me looking at Debo, I'm like, man, I can only imagine guys having to compete with that type of dog on kick returns and stuff like that with blockers. So like you're saying, though, maybe in special situations, maybe if we do make it to the playoffs, maybe if we do make it to the bowl, we see some of these guys where it's like, hey, this is that last game where everybody who's the best just needs to be on the field at all times.
Yes. You know what? I don't mind. You get to the Super Bowl, you get to the conference championship, and you think Debo's an electric kick returner at that point? Yes, but probably not week 2. And
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
see. Shout out to Daniel. Thanks for coming by. We touched on Ambry Thomas. He's going to get some ops in the preseason. So we're going to find out. Whoever's making some plays in the preseason, I mean, that's, Richie James, I feel like is old faithful. It's like
Yeah.
if no one's balling out and really grabs his job, it's like, then you roll with Richie James because he's done it. I don't think he's been that bad, although my boy E. Kim points out we have no special team since Richie James fumbled and punt return against New Orleans. And I feel like that was a bit of an anomaly. I don't remember Richie James turning it over a ton. I feel like he was relatively safe.
Yeah, every now and then a certain guy will have just a bad game. We've seen it before from other guys where sometimes you just have a bad game and then that's the last like impactful memory that we have of some guys. I feel like sometimes we used to do the same thing to KB. KB might only have like 5 drops in a season, but it's
But
always
they
the
were just at
worst
the wrong
time.
time. There was some at the
Yeah,
wrong time. Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of hard to like say. If anything, to me, I think what's underrated about Richie James is that Richie's been in this system now for a while. And so if Debo or Ayuk do go out, I am confident in Richie James's ability to understand the route tree concepts, his job basically. Um, I definitely feel like if he's given an opportunity um, to fill in at the wide receiver 3 role, I think it's going to be kind of hard to beat Richie out because have we ever really imagined that guy has super athleticism, and it's surprising that we don't put him in the slot more often to run 5-yard digs, 5-yard outs, just to work the middle of the field still and be that option. Um, I was always surprised that Trent Taylor got more play than Richie James because I felt like everything Trent can do, Richie could just do better. He was faster, he was more athletic. Maybe it was just more of Trent was extremely sure-handed at that time. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I think this year our special teams, we definitely need a contribution from them this year. We need them to throw us a bone and every once in a while get us to the 40-yard line, get us to the 50-yard line. I'm not even talking about
Yes.
Hausers. I'm just saying, can we get some decent field flipping position? You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
get it past the 25 at least.
Yeah,
Otherwise, take a
yeah,
knee. But I know exactly
yeah.
what you mean. We just haven't gotten the pop from the special teams unit that like you've mentioned, I think they're looking for it. And Ray,
Yeah.
I got one for you. I got one for you. So I liked where you were going with the receiver talk because I think the third receiver is going to be rotational or situation based. Where
Yeah.
if it's third and short, if River Craycraft makes the team, that's where you would use it if it's 3rd and 3, right? On a quick little option route, because he does have some quick feet, and if it's
Hey,
third
you bring up
and
a great
yeah.
point about River Craycraft. I'm going to say something. Do you remember who posted? I think Rich Madrid. He was posting a game film little like tweet of I think it was a throw that Jimmy Garoppolo missed or didn't even look at, right? And the guy who ran the stutter and go had like a crazy explosion and blew by the 2 DBs in the secondary. And originally people were like, "Who's that? Is that so and so?" And then afterwards everybody's like, "That's River Craycraft. What the hell was that?" And it was like, "Wait, River Craycraft has that kind of explosion and footwork?" I was like, man, are we kind of not just because we haven't seen him at all do anything? He had that one drop in his limited opportunity, remember, in the end zone, and it's kind of like when a guy gets his
Yes.
opportunity, but it's like, man, the guy, that was like his first game, I think, really
And he
meaningful
got
play.
open, like he won the
Yeah,
route, and
yeah,
it's not like it was it was up high, right? It was up high. He
yeah.
should have
He had to jump for it. He
had
had to
it.
jump for it.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it wasn't
but
like it was a gimme in the end zone.
he's underratedly athletic, and we know why. We know why in the NFL, whenever you see the white receiver, they're just underrated. Like nobody ever gave Jordy Nelson his credit for just being a 6'3" athletic dude who could jump, ball catch, do everything. And it was like, because he's the wide receiver. That's just the way it is. They don't get the same credit sometimes. So definitely I see that with Craycraft, there might be that potential where it's like, man, dude, if he shows out and I've seen some posts of him showing the body transformation he made as well. He went from like kind of like the flabby wide receiver, like kind of like Pettis, and he's turned it up and he's been working out. He's solid pretty much. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of these guys who we just don't expect, like Richie James, like River Craycraft do rotate at that number 3 position, like you're saying, in down and
Yeah.
distance
Juwan
situations.
Jennings. Yeah,
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, Jalen Hurd. Like it's all based on this. Again, if it's third and short, you might want to have Jalen Hurd out there as an option on a jet sweep. Imagine you got Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, and then you got Jalen Hurd or Debo coming on a jet sweep. It's going to be so fun to watch, Ray. I can't wait. Hey, Ray, I got to get your. I want to see. Hey, Ray, I got to cut you off because I want to hear what receivers you think are going to make this team. All right. So,
all right.
Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. I got the list up right here. Okay. So let me run off the names. Richie James, right? He's a lock, right? Would you agree with that?
I would say this season he's a lock.
He's a lock. Okay. So last year we kept 6. 2019 we kept 7, and then we might have put Hurd directly on IR immediately. So I think 6 is the number, and it's tough, right? I've tried to do this exercise previously, not easy. Okay, so we got Ayuk, Debo, Richie James. So the next names, do you need me to name the names, or you got it?
No, I got it. I would say, okay, so after Richie James, I would say if Jalen Hurd is healthy, I think he's a lock because they've been waiting to use him. All right. So if Jalen Hurd is healthy, I think he's a lock no matter what. He just has to be healthy. Right?
Yeah.
So I'll say that's the 4th receiver locked. Now, when you start getting to a 5th and 6th receiver, to me, okay, now you're talking about Mohamed Sanu, River Craycraft, Juwan Jennings. You do have Sherfield. Now, Sherfield, because he plays special teams, and if they decide to keep him, that might be one of the locks. So
supposedly we guaranteed him money too. Not all these
so,
receivers have guaranteed money. Sherfield, I believe, has $200,000 guaranteed to him. So they saw something in him. I think Sherfield's going to make this team.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. They're underrated moves that it seems like they were really trying to key in on special teams this year. I think Sherfield's one of those. So if we say he's the 6th receiver, to me the 5th spot is the one that's the battle then, and that's between Benjamin, Sanu, Jennings, Craycraft. So it's usually going to go down. Kevin White. It's also going to. It's to me that spot right there is really going to be who shows out in the preseason, who earns it, because all of those guys have to fight for that spot. So it's going to be. I can't call who's going to play only because I don't know who's going to look the best this season in the preseason. I don't know. It's something we kind of have to see. If I had to guess though, and I'm thinking about like you were saying, who's the guy maybe who can play special teams and still contribute when needed. I kind of feel like they're a little infatuated with Kevin White. And I'm thinking that because they see his athleticism, they see his potential. So one of the guys who also been through a lot of injuries. And I think they're going to give him every opportunity they can to try to win that spot as well. But it's just up to certain guys. You never know. Juwan Jennings might make some plays. Mohamed Sanu might make some plays. Travis Benjamin. It's really, I think that's that one spot where it's going to come down to who looks the best in the preseason.
Yeah, and you know what I can kind of see coming, Ray? Because we didn't see a lot of Jalen Hurd. We haven't seen any Jalen Hurd yet, have we? Has he been on the field? No, right?
No.
So I think there's a chance potentially maybe he's one of the short-term, what do they call it, the PUP, the short-term IR, where it's like the first 6 weeks or whatever. Yeah. Like if he's not quite ready, and that's a way you can keep an extra guy, Yeah. You short IR him, and then maybe we do keep 7 like Ryan's saying here. And that's what they did. What was it in 2019 when Hurd got hurt initially? It's like they kept him, stashed him.
Yeah, usually it's easier to keep a guy when he can contribute on special teams as well. So if they feel like more guys are going to contribute out of the running back position, then maybe that's when they keep 5, 4 running backs plus a fullback. At the wide receiver spot, if they feel like they have a solid depth with 6, I think that's what they're going to go towards. And the only reason why I say that is when you do look at the makeup of this team and when you do look at how they didn't draft any wide receivers, it really makes me think they were content with what they had. They are content with the guys they brought in. I don't see it as a situation where they were saying, hey, we need to fill 7 wide receiver spots and we're going to draft one, because they didn't do that. So I think they are going to roll with 6 this season. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens on and who you got making the wide receiver if you had to guess.
Ooh, I'm glad you asked me. Let me pull it up. So we got Debo and Ayuk. All right. Richie James, I think's a lock. Everyone's saying Mohamed Sanu's a lock, but Ray, the guy couldn't make the team last year. But I've heard that he was going through an injury last season. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's attributed to him not quite being up to speed, maybe at his full Mohamed Sanu level. And now
Well,
he's
that's
back to it this year, right? Yeah.
we could say if he does make it that he earned it, because when you do see a lot of the work he's put in with Trey Lance, when you look at a lot of the things you're seeing of Sanu constantly working, it's going to be those things though where if it translates in preseason and Sanu just looks like, man, like a solid veteran wide receiver, it's really hard to not keep that on your roster when you do have two wide receivers who do have some injury history already, where you do want a little more insurance, of a veteran presence should that happen, somebody who knows the Shanahan system as well. So I could see that.
Okay, so I got it. I got it. So we got, like I said, Ayuk, Debo, Richie James. I'm gonna put Mohamed Sanu in there. Trent Sherfield, I think he's making it. We guaranteed him some money. Really good special teamer. That's 5. The 6th spot. I mean, Jalen Hurd. I want to figure out a way to put him on the IR, and I want Jawan Jennings. Those are the 2. I think River Craycraft Ray might be a guy we can sneak onto the practice squad.
Yeah,
I
think
don't
so,
know
too.
if teams are clamoring for River at this
No,
point.
I don't think so. I think, yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody's knocking down the door for Rivers. So.
Yeah, so I think we can retain him, and if injuries crop up, then that's when you bring him back to active. But so, I mean, Jalen Hurd and Juwan Jennings. But if I got to pick Jalen Hurd if he's healthy. If I can only pick one between Jalen Hurd and Juwan Jennings, Jalen Hurd, just from what I remember watching him, his tape coming out of Baylor and what I saw from him at Tennessee, he was just so physical. It was so nasty, Ray. He was a monster.
But when we saw in the Cowboys preseason game when we played
Yeah.
and we saw Hurd, immediately what I thought was, you mean to tell me you're going to have to deal with Kittle, Hurd, and Debo, who are those type of physical players on the field at all times? You're going to have to deal with those guys? It would be like a pick your poison, because you'd be able to line these guys up all over the field. It would be hard to know what we're doing on offense, because sometimes you might throw Debo in the backfield. Sometimes you might throw Hurd in the backfield. It's really tough to tell what the offense is going to do when you have those guys who are that versatile on the field at the same time. So, yeah, for that reason, I think
Ray.
Hurd,
So those
Hurd
three
has
guys
to.
you mentioned, Kittle, Debo, Jalen Hurd, those dudes are so physical, will run you over. And obviously Shanahan loves that trait because that stands out with those 3 guys. But Ray, those players, it's looking like those players are more prone to getting injured, is what it's looking like, Ray.
Well, I think at the end of the day, when you look at it, there's more yak, but there's more contact. So the more contact, the statistics are going to go up in favor of injury because you're just having more plays where you're making contact. Now that's the
Ray,
thing.
they're running over 2 and 3 guys. The first guy never brings down Debo. I just check out the Debo video that I did with Ben. I mean, Debo's a monster. He was just so hard to bring down. The first guy doesn't bring him down. It takes 2-3 guys every time.
Yeah, he's in the open field. You know who he really reminds me of? And a lot of us 49ers fans hated playing him. In the open field, he reminds me of Anquan Boldin. You remember what that was like playing Anquan Boldin? It was tough every game playing Anquan Boldin in the middle of the field because of his physicality. And it's like those guys, they bulldoze forward. They always get extra yards. So, yeah, it's like, man, it's a gift and a curse. Yeah, they can get all the yards after contact, but it's like, it's hard to want guys to go 100 miles per hour and then try to get rid of the don't make contact. It's like that's what these guys have been doing. That's what's got them to where they're at. So that's a hard ask to tell guys don't be as physical anymore.
No, I mean, that's who they are. That's how they've gotten to this point. It's one of those. All right, Ray. Hey, Ray, you got any last thoughts? By the way, thank you for coming on because I've wanted you to call in because I really like what you got to say.
Yeah, and last time I was like, man, I was busy and I didn't get to make the call. So I was like, man, I'm for sure going to call it next time, show my support. I always like your takes too, man. A lot of the times we agree on and I try to tell a lot of 49ers fans this. So lately, there's been the big problem with the debate over the quarterback, and it's really gotten nasty and splitting up our fan base, more so than it ever should have. Because at the end of the day, we all want the team to win, but it got really bad. It got really toxic, and it's still that way right now until until the quarterback situation is, in plain black and white. It's still going to be like that. And to me, though, the problem is, dude, we agree on a lot more things than we disagree on. I feel like a lot of fans forget that. They focus so much on what they don't agree on instead of the grand scheme of things, how much we actually do agree with. So, like, I just want the fans out there, if you're watching this, any of you guys, be respectful. It's okay to debate. It's okay to be wrong. You don't always have to be right. It's okay to change your opinions. It's okay to branch out and watch different people. Like, I feel like I see a lot of people bash Grant Cohn. A lot of people bash other guys who are out doing their thing right now. But what they only see snippets of things, and they only see little things instead of actually spending the time and seeing what's going on all around. And when you do that, what you come back with is, man, a lot of these discussions, if they weren't open and honest, if they weren't having difference of opinion, it would always be the same boring result of not really knowing anything. I feel like when we work out these conversations and we look at the pros and cons, it helps us all come to a better understanding of things. And that's what it's all about: being cordial, being respectful. We're all Niner fans. You guys don't have to take things personal. So if I could leave it out on that, that's how I'll leave it out. And nothing but respect for you. So have a good time. I'm enjoying your show, and keep doing what you're doing.
Ray, that was some real shit, no lie. And I'm glad you said that. The quarterback has divided us a little bit, but hey, like you said, we're one team. We got one goal, and let's get that 6, baby. Let's get that 6, Ray.
Let's get that 6. Hey, whether it's Jimmy or Trey, I don't care. Let's get the 6. Let's get it.
Get it. All right, Ray.
Peace.
Hey, you have a good night. All right. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to everyone in the chat. You guys were live. Man, I appreciate you guys coming by. And I got one thing left to say to you. Actually, I'm going to let my boys say it to you.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming by. Catch you guys next time. And have a good night.